Jack did not go to the hegemony ship alone. 2 armed guards went with him, along with Dr. Nicole Hayes, Earth's top expert on alien biology. Still, he felt very much on his own as he stepped onto the shuttle that would take them to Queen Silurith's flagship, the Eternal Night. Remember, General Carter had told him before they left, learn what she wants. Be polite, but give away nothing that could hurt us. And if you sense a trap, use the emergency beacon. The hegemony ship was huge. It could have held 50 human vessels inside it. As they docked, Jack saw hundreds of the alien soldiers moving about their duties. They all stopped to stare as the humans were led through the ship's purple-lit halls. "The Queen awaits," said their guide, a tall hegemony warrior with markings on his armor that Jack guessed showed high rank. They were not taken to a prison or an interrogation room as Jack had feared. Instead, they entered what looked like royal quarters. The room was large and filled with strange but beautiful objects. The walls seemed to shift colors slowly, like the Queen's skin. Queen Silurith sat on a raised platform, but she stood when they entered. The guards with Jack tensed, hands moving toward their weapons. "Welcome to my home," the Queen said. Her 4 eyes blinked at different times, which Jack found hard to watch. "I have had quarters prepared for all of you. You are my guests here, not my prisoners." "Why did you ask for me?" Jack said. He had never been one for small talk. Silurith made a sound that might have been laughter, direct as your kind often is. "Very well." She walked closer to Jack, studying him. "You interest me, Jack Harlow. Not just for what you did at the Nexus station, though that was impressive. No, you interest me for what you are." "And what am I?" "That is what I intend to find out." In the days that followed, Jack and his team were treated with respect. Their quarters were as nice as those given to hegemony nobility. They were allowed to move freely through certain parts of the ship, though always watched by guards. And every day Queen Silurith would send for Jack. Sometimes she would ask him about Earth and its people. Other times, she would tell him about the hegemony, about worlds so distant that light from their suns had not yet reached Earth. She spoke of her people's history, millions of years old, of empires that had risen and fallen while humans were still learning to use tools. "Why are you telling me all this?" Jack asked her on the 5th day. They stood before a large window that looked out on the stars and the distant blue marble of Earth. "Because I want you to understand what is at stake," she replied. "Your species is young, Jack Harlow, but the warriors of Earth have a fire in them that my people have not seen for 1,000 generations. Is that why you attacked us? To test our fire?" The Queen's skin rippled with colors that Jack had learned meant she was amused. "The war was inevitable," she said. "But you were unexpected." On the 7th day, she took Jack to a room he had not seen before. Inside were strange machines and several hegemony, who wore different armor than the soldiers. Scientists, Jack guessed. "I wish to show you something," Silurith said. She waved her hand over a control, and a hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a double helix, like human DNA but with extra strands woven through it. "This is the genetic code of my people," she explained. Another wave of her hand and a second hologram appeared. This one looked much more like human DNA, except for one section that glowed brighter than the rest. "And this is yours." Jack looked at Dr. Hayes, who'd been allowed to join them. Her eyes were wide with interest. "The glowing section," Silurith continued, "is unique to you, Jack Harlow. We have studied the DNA of many humans since the war began. None show this pattern." "What does it mean?" Jack asked, though he was beginning to guess, and the thought made his blood run cold. "It means that you carry a gene sequence that is remarkably similar to one found in ancient hegemony royalty. A sequence that has become rare among my people over millions of years. A sequence we desperately need." "Why?" Silurith's 4 eyes all focused on him at once. "Because my people are dying, Jack. Harlow, we have ruled thousands of worlds for millions of years. But we are fading. Each generation is weaker, fewer in number. Our scientists call it genetic stagnation. And you think I can help with that? I know you can. Our seers prophesied that one would come from a young species bearing what we call the mark of ascension. She reached out slowly and touched his face. Her fingers were cool against his skin. When I saw the images of you after the Nexus attack, I knew at once, but I had to be sure. Jack stepped back from her touch. What exactly are you asking of me? I want you as my consort, Silurith said simply. I want your genetic material to help save my species from extinction. Jack stared at her. Of all the things he had imagined the Queen might want from him, this had never crossed his mind. You started a war that has killed millions of my people, and now you want me to help save yours? Silurith did not look away from his anger. Yes, because there is more at stake than either of our peoples realize. She led him to another room. This one contained a large holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. At its edge, something dark was moving. We call them the Void, Silurith said. They have destroyed 1,000 civilizations already. They do not communicate. They do not negotiate. They simply consume. And they are coming here. Jack studied the display. The dark mass was still distant, but it was clearly moving toward their part of the galaxy. My people have fought them before. Long ago, the Queen continued. We barely survived. We will not survive again, not in our weakened state. And your people, young as you are, stand no chance alone. So you're saying we need to work together? I am saying we need to become something new together, a joining of our strengths, your fire and our knowledge. It is the only way. Jack looked at the display again, at the creeping darkness at the edge of the galaxy. Then he looked at the Queen, at her alien beauty, and her 4 eyes that now held something he had never expected to see in his enemy: fear. I need to talk to my people about this, he said at last. Silurith nodded. Of course. But do not take too long, Jack Harlow. Time is not our ally in this. The black ships appeared in Earth's sky without warning. They cut through space like knives, their dark metal shells gleaming under the distant sun. There were 7 of them, each bigger than the largest human ship ever built. Commander Olivia, Thorne stood on the bridge of the USV Intrepid. Her hands gripped the rail as she watched the alien vessels on the main screen. Her ship was part of Earth's defense line, the last hope if these visitors proved hostile. Humanity had been fighting the aliens known as the Hegemony for 3 long years. The war had cost millions of lives, but this was different. This time, the Hegemony Queen herself had come. They're sending us a message, said Lieutenant Diane Murphy. Despite the danger, her voice remained calm. She had been with Olivia through the worst battles of the war, putting it on screen now. The image of a being appeared before them. She was tall and slender, with skin that shimmered purple in the light. 4 eyes, set in a face that was almost human but not quite, stared at them. Those eyes glowed with an inner light that made Olivia shiver. This was Queen Silurith of the 7 galaxies, ruler of the Hegemony. Behind her stood rows of warriors in hard, shell-like armor. I come seeking a warrior, the Queen said. Her voice was musical but cold, the one who destroyed our Nexus station. Olivia looked at her second-in-command, Sam Bell. They both knew who the Queen meant. Jack Harlow, the Special Forces soldier who had slipped past Hegemony defenses and blown up their main communications hub 3 months ago. That mission had set the alien war effort back by years. It had made Jack a hero to humans everywhere, and now it seemed it had caught the attention of the enemy Queen herself. Bring him to me, Queen Silurith said. She smiled, showing teeth that looked like small white pearls. Or I will burn your world to ashes. The screen went black. For a moment, no one on the bridge spoke. Get me General Carter, Olivia said finally. And find Jack Harlow, now. The call to General Melody Carter took only minutes to connect. The general's face looked grim when she appeared on screen. We've seen the message too, she said. All Earth ships have. The President is meeting with the Defense Council now, but I need you to buy us time, Commander Thorne. How do I do that? Olivia asked. Open a channel back to the Hegemony flagship. Tell them we're considering their demand. Say we need 48 hours to find Harlow and bring him in. Do we know where he is? The general nodded. Mars outpost. Training new recruits after the Nexus mission. We've already sent a ship for him. After the call ended, Olivia did as ordered. To her surprise, the alien queen agreed to wait. For 2 days, the hegemony ships hung in space, making no moves against Earth. It was the longest 2 days of Olivia's life. Jack Harlow had not expected to be called back to Earth. After the Nexus mission, he had asked for a quiet post, away from the fighting. At 34, he had seen enough death to last several lifetimes. The cybernetic arm they had given him after his last injury still ached when he thought about the things he had done in the name of humanity's survival. The Queen has asked for you by name, General Carter told him when he arrived at Earth Command. Her office was high in the tower, with windows that looked out over what remained of Washington after the first hegemony attacks. Our best minds are trying to figure out why. Maybe she wants revenge, Jack said. The neural implant at his temple, which helped him control his cybernetic arm, pulsed blue with his growing worry. Maybe. Or maybe there's something else going on. Intelligence says this isn't a normal military action. The Queen has never led an attack herself before. Jack frowned. What do you want me to do? Meet with her, the general said. On neutral, ground, Luna base, we'll have security everywhere. This could be our chance to end this war one way or another. 3 days later, Jack stood in a large hangar on the moon. Earth forces surrounded him, weapons ready. The massive doors at the far end of the room began to open. Jack felt his heart pound in his chest. He had fought the hegemony for years, killed more of their soldiers than he cared to remember. But he had never seen their queen in person. She was taller than he had expected. Queen Silurith moved with a strange flowing grace that made her seem like she was gliding rather than walking. Her skin caught the light, shimmering with colors that shifted as she moved. The armor she wore looked ceremonial, decorated with symbols Jack didn't understand, but he had no doubt it could stop bullets just as well as the planar armor her guards wore. The Queen's guards spread out behind her, their hands on weapons that could tear through human flesh like paper. But Silurith only looked at Jack. She approached him slowly, and he noticed that the air around her seemed to bend slightly, as if she carried her own gravity. The Slayer of Thousands, she said. Her voice was soft, almost gentle. It was not, at all, what Jack had expected from the ruler of humanity's greatest enemy. You have no idea what you truly are. Jack stared into her 4 glowing eyes, feeling as if she could see straight through to his soul. What do you want from me? He asked. The Queen smiled. That, she said, is a conversation that will change the fate of both our peoples. Back on Earth, Jack's news was met with shock and disbelief. He sat in a secure room deep under what remained of the old Pentagon building. Around the table sat the most powerful humans left alive: General Melody Carter, Admiral Kate Winston, Dr. Nicole Hayes, and several others from Earth's government and military. You expect us to believe the hegemony queen wants to mate with you? Admiral Winston said. Her voice dripped with doubt. Not exactly mate, Dr. Hayes cut in. Based on the genetic data I was able to study on their ship, they're looking for specific gene sequences that Jack carries. They would use these to create new combinations, not actual breeding in the way we think of it. And this threat they showed you, General Carter said, looking at Jack. This void, as they call it, you believe it's real? Jack nodded. I do. I saw their faces when they talked about it. Even their warriors were afraid. It could still be a trick, Admiral Winston insisted. A way to get us to lower our guard. For what purpose? Jack asked. They could have killed me and my team at any time. Their fleet could attack Earth right now if they wanted to. They've suffered losses too, the Admiral countered. Maybe they need time to rebuild, and this is how they're buying it. The debate went on for hours. Some, like Admiral Winston, saw the Queen's offer as a trap, a way to neutralize Earth's greatest hero by turning him against his own kind. Others, including Dr. Hayes, believed the genetic tests were genuine, and that an alliance could help both species survive. "They've stopped all attacks," General Carter said toward the end of the meeting. "All hegemony ships have pulled back from human colonies, but they're still positioned where they could hit half our worlds if this goes bad." Jack listened to it all, but his mind kept returning to what he had seen on the hegemony ship. The genetic data, the star maps showing the approaching void, and Queen Silurith's eyes when she spoke of her dying people. "I need some time to think," he said finally. That night, alone in his quarters, Jack couldn't sleep. He paced the small room, his thoughts racing. The neural implant at his temple pulsed with his agitation, sending occasional sparks of pain through his head. What if the Admiral was right and this was all a trick? He now had access to hegemony secrets that could potentially help humanity win the war. But what if Dr. Hayes was right? What if this really was their one chance to end the fighting and prepare for an even greater threat? And what about Silurith herself? Jack couldn't deny that there was something about the alien queen that fascinated him. She was deadly and beautiful and ancient all at once. When she looked at him with those 4 glowing eyes, he felt like she was seeing parts of him that no human ever had. His thoughts were interrupted by an urgent knock on his door. It was General Carter. "We've intercepted some communications you need to see," she said, her face grim. In the command center, technicians had managed to decode messages sent between hegemony ships. The messages revealed that not all of the aliens supported their queen's plan. A commander named Vexra was openly questioning Silurith's judgment. He saw any alliance with humans as a disgrace to their pure bloodline. "Vexra commands nearly a third of their fleet," General Carter explained. "And based on these messages, he's planning something." 2 days later, Jack was back on the Eternal Night. This time he went alone, despite the protests of his team. Queen Mai. Silurith met him in her private chambers. She wore simpler clothing now, not the heavy ceremonial armor from before. "Your return pleases me," she said. "Have you considered my proposal?" "I have," Jack replied. "But before I give you my answer, I need to know something. Not all your people support this alliance, do they?" Silurith's skin darkened slightly. "No. There are those who see humans as lesser beings, unworthy of joining with us. My second in command, Vexra, leads this faction, and if they decide to act against you, then I will deal with them as I have dealt with all challenges to my rule." Her voice hardened, reminding Jack that despite her beauty, this was a being who had conquered galaxies. Their conversation was cut short by an alarm blaring through the ship. A hegemony warrior burst into the room without ceremony. "My queen, Vexra's ships have broken formation. They're moving toward the human vessel." Jack had come on a small diplomatic shuttle with just a pilot and 2 guards. It would be no match for even one hegemony warship. "Stop them," Silurith ordered. "Now." But it was too late. As they watched on the ship's viewing screens, Vexra's vessel fired on the human shuttle. It exploded in a brief flash of light, and then there was nothing. "He has crossed the line," Silurith said, her voice deadly quiet. "This is treason." Jack stared at the empty space where the shuttle had been. 3 more humans dead in this endless war. "Your rebel commander just killed my only way home," he said. "Then you will stay here until this is resolved." The Queen turned to him. "Unless you think I planned this?" Jack looked into her 4 eyes, searching for deceit. "Did you?" "No. Vexra moves against both of us now. He will try to kill me next and take control of the hegemony. Then he will continue the war until either your people or mine are extinct." As if to confirm her words, another alarm sounded. The warrior who had entered before returned, looking even more distressed. "Vexra calls for your removal, my queen. He has declared you unfit to rule. 3 more ship captains have joined him." Silurith's face showed no fear, only cold determination. "Prepare my armor," she ordered, "and get Jack Harlow to safety." "No," Jack said. "If Vexra wants to kill both of us, let's not make it easy for him by separating." The Queen studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Can you still fight, Slayer of Thousands?" Jack flexed his cybernetic arm. "Just give me a weapon." They made their way through the ship's corridors. Silurith now dressed in battle armor that was lighter and less decorated than her ceremonial outfit. She had given Jack a hegemony weapon, something between a sword and a gun, which hummed with energy in his hands. Vexra will try to reach the bridge, Silurith explained as they moved. From there, he could lock down the ship and trap us. They had just reached a main junction when the lights dimmed. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in a dull red glow. Ahead of them, a door slid open and armed hegemony warriors poured through. At their head was a figure taller than the rest, with red markings on his armor. Vexra, Silurith hissed. The rebel commander raised his weapon. Your obsession with this human has doomed you, my queen. The pure bloodline ends today. The pure bloodline is what's killing us, you fool. Silurith snapped back. Can you not see past your pride to the truth? But Vexra was done talking. He fired his weapon and chaos erupted in the corridor. Jack dove to the side as energy blasts tore through the air where he had been standing. His combat training took over, and he rolled to his feet behind a column. Next to him, Queen Silurith moved with impossible speed, her own weapon firing with deadly accuracy. The rebel warriors fell one by one, but there were many of them. Vexra himself was a skilled fighter, dodging Silurith's shots while advancing steadily forward. Jack had never fought alongside a hegemony before. He had killed hundreds of them, but never stood shoulder to shoulder with one against a common enemy. Yet he and Silurith moved as if they had trained together for years. When he advanced, she covered him. When she was targeted, he drew fire away from her. Their styles were different, his movements efficient and brutal, hers flowing and graceful, but they complemented each other perfectly. A blast caught Jack in the shoulder, spinning him around. Pain shot through his body, but his cybernetic arm still worked. He raised the hegemony weapon and fired back, catching the rebel who had shot him square in the chest. Jack, Silurith called. The control panel. He saw what she meant. On the wall behind Vexra was a panel that controlled the corridor security doors. If they could close them, they could cut off half of the rebel forces. Jack took aim and fired. His shot hit the panel, and sparks flew. The heavy security doors began to close, but slowly. Vexra realized what was happening and made a desperate rush forward, trying to get through before they shut. Silurith met him head-on. The two hegemony warriors crashed together in a blur of motion. Jack tried to get a clear shot, but they were moving too fast and he didn't want to risk hitting the queen. The doors were almost closed now. On the other side, the remaining rebels were trying to force them open again. Jack fired at them, keeping them back long enough for the doors to slam shut with a final heavy clang. Now, it was just them and Vexra, cut off from his supporters. The rebel commander fought with the fury of desperation. He was larger than Silurith and seemed stronger, but the queen was faster and clearly more skilled. They exchanged blows that would have killed a human instantly, their armor absorbing impacts that made the air itself seem to shudder. Jack circled around, looking for an opening. When Vexra knocked Silurith back against a wall, Jack saw his chance. He fired, and his shot caught Vexra in the leg. The rebel commander stumbled, and in that moment of weakness, Silurith struck. Her weapon plunged into a gap in Vexra's armor, and a strange blue fluid, hegemony blood, began to flow. Vexra fell to his knees. He looked up at his queen, hatred burning in his eyes. You doom our people, he gasped, for the sake of these lesser beings. No, Silurith replied calmly. I save our people from the pride that blinds you. With a final swift movement, she ended her former commander's life. For a moment there was silence in the corridor. Jack leaned against the wall, suddenly aware of the pain in his shoulder. Silurith turned to him, concern in her 4 eyes. You are injured, she said. I'll live. Jack managed a smile. We make a good team. The queen's skin rippled with colors. Yes, we do. They made their way to the bridge, where they learned that Vexra's rebellion was already falling apart without him to lead it. Most of the hegemony were loyal to their queen, and once word spread that she had personally defeated the rebel leader, the remaining dissenters quickly surrendered. Jack's wound was treated by hegemony healers. Their methods were strange to him, but effective. Within hours, the pain was gone, though his skin still showed a dark bruise where the energy blast had hit him. "What happens now?" he asked Silurith. They stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars and the distant blue sphere of Earth. "That depends on you," she replied. "My offer still stands. But after today, I understand if you no longer wish to accept it." Jack thought about everything he had seen and learned. About the dying hegemony civilization. About the void approaching from the edge of the galaxy. About the way he and Silurith had fought together, as if they were always meant to be allies rather than enemies. "I'll help you," he said finally. "But on my terms. This has to be an equal alliance. No subjugation." Silurith's lips curved into a smile. "I would expect nothing less from my chosen one." The next few weeks were filled with careful negotiations. Jack returned to Earth, this time in a heavily guarded hegemony shuttle. He met with Earth's leaders again, explaining what had happened on the Eternal Night and what he had decided. "You want to join with them?" Admiral Winston asked, still skeptical. "Become some kind of ambassador or hostage?" "Neither," Jack replied. "I want to help forge a true alliance, one that benefits both our peoples." "And what if this void they're so afraid of never comes?" the Admiral pressed. "What if this is still some elaborate trap? Then we'll still have ended a war that's killing millions," Jack said simply. General Carter, who had been quiet for most of the meeting, finally spoke up. "I think Jack is right. We've been fighting for 3 years, and where has it gotten us? Both sides are exhausted. If there's a chance for peace, we should take it. Even if it means giving them access to human DNA." Admiral Winston didn't sound convinced. Dr. Hayes cleared her throat. "Based on what I've studied, this exchange would benefit us too. Hegemony medical technology is centuries ahead of ours. Think about what we could learn." The debate continued, but in the end, Jack's view prevailed. Perhaps it was because he was a hero to many, or perhaps it was because, deep down, everyone was tired of war. A peace conference was arranged on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. Representatives from Earth and the hegemony would meet on neutral ground to formalize the alliance. Jack would be there, as would Queen Silurith. The night before he left Earth for what might be the last time, Jack stood on the roof of the military compound, looking up at the stars. General Carter found him there. "Second thoughts?" she asked, coming to stand beside him. "A few," Jack admitted. "Everything's going to change." "Things change whether we want them to or not," she replied. "At least this way. We have some control." "Over how?" Jack nodded. His neural implant pulsed gently, no longer painful but a reminder of all he had been through, of all the changes his body and mind had already endured. "Do you trust her?" the general asked after a moment. "The Queen?" Jack thought about it. Did he trust Silurith, the ruler of the people who had attacked his world, killed his friends, scarred his body, the alien being who claimed she needed him to save her species? "Yes," he said finally. "I do. Not because I think she's incapable of deceit, but because in this case the truth serves her better than any lie could." General Carter smiled slightly. "That's good enough for me." She handed him a small device. "This is for you. It's new tech, based partly on what we've learned from hegemony systems. It should help your neural implant function better with fewer side effects." Jack took the device gratefully. "Thank you. Just promise me one thing," the general said, her expression turning serious. "Whatever happens out there, whatever you become, don't forget where you came from." Jack looked back up at the stars, at the vast space where his future now lay. "I won't," he promised, "no matter how far I go." 1 year later, the combined fleet of Earth and the hegemony made a sight never before seen in the Milky Way galaxy. Former enemies now flew side by side, their ships forming a protective wall around the planets they had once fought over. Jack stood on the bridge of the Eternal Night, which now served as the command ship for the United Forces. Beside him stood Queen Silurith, now his wife by both human and hegemony customs. Their union had shocked many on both sides, but had come to symbolize the alliance itself, different but stronger together. The outer sensors have detected movement. Again, reported a human officer, Lily Chen. She worked alongside a hegemony technician, the two of them managing the ship's complex detection systems together. "Show me," Jack ordered. The main screen lit up, displaying the edge of the solar system. There, just beyond Pluto's orbit, darkness moved. It wasn't like any ship or natural phenomenon. It was as if a piece of space itself was bending, twisting, consuming the light around it. "The void," Sillerith said quietly. "They're earlier than we expected. In the year since the peace treaty, they had been preparing for this moment. Earth ships had been upgraded with hegemony technology. Human soldiers had trained alongside alien warriors, and most importantly, the genetic therapy derived from Jack and Sillerith's compatible DNA had begun to reverse the hegemony's decline. Their first child grew in a special chamber in the medical bay. The hegemony scientists claimed the baby would have the best qualities of both species, human adaptability and creativity combined with hegemony strength and longevity. Jack visited the chamber every day, watching as the tiny being developed. It didn't look fully human or fully hegemony, but something new and wonderful. "All ships report ready," said Admiral Kate Winston. She had been one of the last to accept the alliance, but now she commanded the human part of the fleet with steady determination. "Defensive positions are set." "And the evacuation?" Jack asked. "Almost complete," Admiral Winston replied. 90% of civilians from the outer colonies have been moved to Earth and the inner planets." Jack nodded. They had done all they could to prepare. Now they would see if it was enough. "Send the message," he told Lily. "All ships, all stations. The void has arrived. This is not a drill." Throughout the fleet, alarms sounded. Warriors of both species moved to their battle stations. Weapons powered up, shields raised, and still the darkness grew, spreading across the edge of their sensors like spilled ink. "They're launching something," Lily reported, her voice tense. "Hundreds of objects moving fast toward our position." The objects appeared on screen, sleek black shapes that seemed to drink in the light around them. They moved in ways that defied normal physics, changing direction instantly without slowing. "Void hunters," Sillerith said. "They're advanced scouts and light attack craft. The main armada will follow." The battle began. Human and hegemony ships fired together, their weapons lighting up space with brilliant energy. The void hunters were hit, some exploding in strange, silent bursts of darkness, others seemingly absorbing the attacks without damage. Then the hunters reached their lines, and chaos erupted. The black ships darted between the Allied vessels, firing weapons that left smoking holes in even the strongest armor. Ships began to fall, human and hegemony alike. "They're targeting our command vessels," Admiral Winston reported, her face grim on the communication screen. 2 destroyers lost already. Jack felt the eternal night shudder as something struck it. Alarms blared across the bridge. "Hull breach on Deck 12, a hegemony officer reported. "Sealing now." For 6 hours, the battle raged. The Allied fleet fought with everything they had, but the Void Hunters were unlike any enemy they had faced before. And worse, sensors now showed the main Void Armada approaching, massive ships that made even the eternal night look small. "We can't hold them," Admiral Winston said, her voice steady despite the cuts on her face from a console explosion. "Not like this." Jack looked at Sillerith. They had discussed this possibility, had prepared for it, but they had hoped it wouldn't be necessary. "The Nexus Protocol?" he asked. Sillerith's 4 eyes closed briefly, then opened with determination. "Yes, it's time." The Nexus Protocol was a last resort, developed by combining hegemony energy technology with human AI systems. It would link all their ships together into one massive weapon, focusing their combined power on a single point. The energy release would be enough to tear a hole in space itself. But there was a cost. The ships closest to the focal point would be destroyed by the backlash, and the eternal night would need to be at the center to control the energy flow. "Begin the protocol," Jack ordered. "All ships to form the Nexus pattern." Across space, the remaining fleet began to move. They formed a complex geometric pattern with the eternal night at its heart. Energy conduits opened between ships, connecting them in a glowing web. "Evacuation pods ready," Lily reported. All non-essential personnel can leave now. No, Jack said. I'll need everyone at their stations to manage the energy flow. Silurith took his hand, her cool fingers twining with his warm ones. I have commanded this ship for 200 years, she said. I will not abandon it now. Jack looked around. The bridge at the mix of human and hegemony faces all watching him. None showed fear, only resolve. Very well, he said. Admiral Winston, move your command ship to the secondary position. If we fail, you'll need to try again. Understood, the Admiral replied. It's been an honor, Harlow. As the Void Armada approached, the Nexus protocol reached full power. The web of energy connecting the Allied ships glowed brighter and brighter until it was painful to look at. Directly. In the medical bay, secure in its special chamber, Jack and Silurith's child slept on, unaware of the battle that would determine its future. Nexus energy at maximum, Lily reported, targeting the center of the Void Armada. Jack took a deep breath. Fire. The energy released was like nothing ever seen before in this galaxy. It burst from the Allied fleet in a concentrated beam of pure white light, cutting through space toward the heart of the darkness. When it struck, the Void ships seemed to warp and bend, as if reality itself was tearing around them. The eternal night shook violently. Consoles exploded. The lights failed, then emergency power kicked in, bathing the bridge in dim red. Did it work? Jack asked, picking himself up from the floor. Lily struggled with her damaged console. I can't tell. Our sensors are... She was cut off as the ship shook again, more violently this time. Jack was thrown against a wall, pain shooting through his body. Through blurry vision, he saw Silurith moving toward him, reaching out. Then darkness took him. Jack woke in a med bay, but not on the eternal night. The ceiling above him was the standard white of a human ship. His body ached everywhere, but he was alive. Welcome back, said a familiar voice. General Melody Carter stood beside his bed, looking tired but relieved. Silurith? Jack asked, his voice rough. She's alive. In better shape than you, actually. Hegemony biology is remarkably resilient. Jack closed his eyes in relief. The Void? Gone, at least for now. The Nexus protocol worked better than we hoped. It didn't just destroy their ships. It seems to have collapsed the spatial anomaly they were using to enter our galaxy. Our scientists are still trying to understand exactly what happened. The fleet, how many did we lose? The general's face grew somber. Too many. Almost a third of our combined forces. The Eternal Night was severely damaged but salvageable. Admiral Winston's ship towed it back. Jack tried to sit up, but pain kept him down. I need to see... You need to rest, the general interrupted firmly. That's an order. Everything is under control for now. 3 weeks later, Jack stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station orbiting Earth. His body had healed, though new scars joined the old ones on his skin. Beside him, Silurith looked out at the planet below, her 4 eyes reflecting the blue and green of Earth. It is beautiful, she said. I understand now why your people fought so hard to protect it. It's your people's home now, too, Jack replied. In the aftermath of the battle, the alliance had grown stronger. The remaining doubters on both sides had fallen silent in the face of what they had accomplished together. Plans were already underway to establish permanent hegemony settlements on Earth and human colonies on hegemony worlds. Our child will be born soon, Silurith said, her hand resting lightly on Jack's arm. The first of a new kind, neither fully human nor fully hegemony. What should we name it? Jack asked. They had decided to wait until birth to learn the child's sex, one human tradition that Silurith had found intriguing. If it's female, I thought perhaps Melody, the Queen said. After your general who has done so much for the Alliance. Jack smiled. And if it's male? Silurith was quiet for a moment, her skin shifting through thoughtful colors. Vexra, she said finally. Jack looked at her in surprise. After the commander who tried to kill us both? He was wrong, but he believed. He was fighting for the future of our people, In a way, he was right to be concerned about change. Change is always frightening, always uncertain, but necessary. She turned her 4 eyes to Jack. Our child will face a galaxy that is still learning to accept the new reality we have created. It will need to understand both the fear of change and the necessity of it. Jack considered this, then nodded slowly. Melody or Vexra it is then.